In a sleepy little town by the name of Ballard, boats transition from the Puget Sound to Lake Washington. It's pretty cool. Just make sure you mind your fingers and toes. You wouldn't want them to get caught in these doors. Good morning. I am here in Ballard, Washington. It's a suburb, if you will, of Seattle, Washington, and we're experiencing a typical rainy day here in Seattle. Anyway, Ballard, Washington is known for the Ballard Locks. These locks were put into place to allow people to transition from Lake Washington to the Puget Sound. The Puget Sound is significantly lower than Lake Washington, so the locks help the boats transition from one body of water, which is a fresh body of water, Lake Washington, to the Puget Sound, which is salt water. These locks, incredibly, have been here for 100 years. They are over 100 years, actually. I believe they're 102, and it's pretty amazing the technology put into place over 100 years ago or still being utilized today. Anyway, it's pretty cool thing to see, so let's go check it out. Today we get started on the dam portion of the locks. Over here is where the fish ladder is housed. When they put the locks into place, it caused disruption among the salmon that were simply trying to get home after a long swim. On the other side of the dam, things look pretty peaceful, but as you see here, looks can be deceiving. There are crews hard at work to maintain the integrity of the dam. Make no mistake about it, this work is dangerous. Bad things would happen if any one of these gates were to be breached. On the Puget Sound side, things look peaceful at the moment, but it's anything but. It's early and things are just getting going. Roughly 100,000 boats transit through the locks each year. The way it works is, the boats approach the locks and stand by until they're motioned to enter. Once they get the signal, they enter the locks. They then try to cram as many boats in the locks as possible before closing the door and raising or lowering the water level. The boat slowly and cautiously enters the locks. Once they are in position, they tie off the boat so it doesn't drift, and then they close the door behind you. And that's when the magic happens. These boats are headed to Lake Washington, so they need to raise the water level. For the sake of time, this portion of the video has been sped up. Once the boats are raised to the appropriate level, the doors in the front are open and the boats are free to leave. Bada boom, bada bing. It's a beautiful thing. Next up, we have this rather impressive tugboat standing by waiting to enter the locks. Notice that the bridge in the background is raised. Depending on the size of the boat, the bridge can be raised or lowered to accommodate the boat's needs. This tugboat is significantly larger than the boat we saw entering the locks earlier. The boat will have to pass through the largest chamber of the locks. The deckhands carefully tie up the boat so it doesn't drift. It looks like this boat just received a fresh coat of paint. But they definitely need to do something about that rusty ass floor. Check out the captain. It looks like he's just chilling on the bridge while his deckhands do all the work. Now that's how you do it. These guys are the ones that make things happen here at the locks. They give instructions to the skippers on where to line their boats up. Once they get everyone in and tied up to one another, they raise the water level. This guy, along with his best friend, are bringing up the rear. You can already hear the doors starting to close. The size of these doors are massive. This box is what controls the locks. I didn't spend too much time videoing this area. The personnel seemed to get concerned when I pointed my camera in this direction. I gotta tell you guys this funny story. I don't know. I guess I just look shady because I've been here at the locks for a couple of hours and I was shooting video, different angles, different aspects. And then when I got near the area where they control the locks, this guy came up to me and he's like, "What are you doing? You getting some good pictures?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm shooting video." He's like, "Oh, well, I was wondering what you were doing, and I've seen you around here for a while." You know, I mean, he was friendly but interrogating at the same time. You know, asking questions. "Are you from around here? Where you live?" And you know, but it wasn't a total waste because he gave me a contact. I was inquiring about seeing the locks when they're down for maintenance and they drain the water. You can actually go down to the locks because I totally want to do that. So he gave me a contact and he gave me his name and he said, yeah, tell him that I told you to call him and he'll set you up with the tour. So I'm gonna do that as soon as I leave this place and see if I can make that happen, because that would be totally awesome. After being at the locks for about 3 hours, I decided to sit down and rest for a bit. That's when I saw this massive behemoth of a ship cruising by. When I saw it, I immediately got up and ran towards the locks. The ship was huge. Look at the drawbridge. The ship was so tall that the drawbridge had to be raised almost to a 90-degree angle. I had to speed up the video for the sake of time. The ship was moving at a snail's pace, and why wouldn't it? It was so big, they had to make sure they moved slowly just so they wouldn't smash into anything. This ship made the Ballard Locks' largest chamber look puny as the boat crept in. I'm sure that there was a lot of pressure for that captain, just to make sure nothing went wrong. He handled it like a champ. They had guys on deck watching to make sure that the ship didn't smash into the side. I wonder how quickly they could communicate to the captain if they had to relay that there was a problem. The ship looked quite impressive as it moved into position. The bridge had windows all around. It would have been awesome if I could have taken a tour of that ship. The owner of the ship was at the locks that day. I guess he was out there to make sure that the ship passed through the canal without a problem. He was concerned because of its size. He told us that the boat's sole purpose was to lay fiber optic cable across the ocean floor, and it was on its way to pick up the cable. To fast forward a bit, after they got the ship into place and they raised the water level, it was time to open the gates and let the boat be on its way. But the crew seemed to take its time in doing so. But then again, why wouldn't they? The ship was huge and there was a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong. Finally, the gates were opened and the water from Lake Washington rushed into the chamber. You can clearly see the current, and the current looked pretty strong. It seemed like the crew at Ballard Locks grew a little impatient with the ship hands. Finally, the ship was on its way. It seemed to cruise out at a much faster speed than when they first came into the locks. So in closing, if you just happen to be in the Seattle area and you like big things like ships and planes, Ballard Locks is a spot for you. You will not be disappointed. Before I left, this big ass ship just went through the locks, made the locks look puny. It's amazing how these guys navigated through the locks, going from the Puget Sound to Lake Washington. And it just so happened that the owner of that ship that went through was here as well, because I guess he was worried about his property. You know, it was a huge ship, and I guess he wanted to make sure it didn't get damaged. So he was out here too, which was pretty interesting. But Ballard Locks, put it on your list of things to see next time you're in Seattle. Good job.